Welcome to Plant the Love. We are going to talk about fostering wellness through the power of natural plants and positive mental health practices. I am your host, Ashley Rawson. On our show, you're going to hear from folks who have a lot of knowledge and expertise about this sneaky little subject. If you're curious if this path is right for you, you have come to the right place. We will empower you with information to make healthy, life-changing choices. We're so glad you're here. Now on to the episode. Disclaimer: the content in this show is for informational purposes only. It is not intended for medical advice. It does not take the place of treatment by a medical health professional. Listeners and viewers should consult with their doctor or medical health professional with any medical concerns. I am not a doctor. However, we do work closely with doctors when we review medications. I do not have a medical degree of any kind. What we are discussing has been in no way approved by the FDA. What I am sharing with you has been from my own experience and research. If you are taking any medication, do not make any changes until you consult your doctor. And now, let's start the Plant the Love show. Welcome to Plant the Love. We are so glad that all of you all are here today. And with me, we have a special guest from Puerto Rico. And it is Mr. Daven Michaels. Welcome, Daven.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me,
Wonderful
Ashley.
to have you.
Yeah.
We've been friends for quite a few months and
Indeed.
very excited about my home in Puerto Rico.
Yes. Your
And
future home in Puerto Rico.
that's
Yes.
right.
Yes.
And so I know a lot about it. And I wanted to have you on to talk about the social experience, the tax
Sure.
experience,
Yeah.
and a little bit about you, what got you there, and why I'm moving there.
Okay. Well, cool. Cool. Well, it's great to meet all of you and just give you a little background on me. I'm Daven Michaels. Been self-employed for 3 decades, long, long time, more than that, actually. And I am a New York Times bestselling author of 10 books. I have a pretty big global audience from doing all that. My last exit was a couple years ago, very, very large company. And we moved to Puerto Rico 6 years ago. And for those of you watching this, you probably don't know that if you're a US citizen, Puerto Rico can be a tax haven for you. It's really literally the last tax haven for US citizens, period. Because as you all know, US taxes you on worldwide income wherever you are in the world. But there's something very different and unique that happens here in Puerto Rico because Puerto Rico is a territory. And so the U.S. grant, and by the way, let me just back up a second and just preface this by saying I'm not an accountant. I don't work for Puerto Rico. I'm not incentivized to have this conversation with you. I literally will just share with you my experience here. So basically, because we're a U.S. territory, the United States allows territories some special abilities and they can offer tax incentives, and they use tax incentives to attract people to the island. So here in Puerto Rico, we have our own tax authority. We don't report to, well, we do report to the IRS, but the IRS doesn't tax us. We have an agency here called Hacienda, and they tax us. And so if you are if you move to Puerto Rico, you make Puerto Rico your bona fide home, and you jump through the legal hoops, and you're here at least half the year, every year. We essentially pay 4% federal income tax on our export businesses, 4%. So, if you live in New York and you're paying like, 50, 60%, I'm talking about 4%. I'm not talking about state tax, I'm talking about federal tax. So whereas, we used to, exactly. I used to work for the federal government half the year, now the first 2 weeks out of the year. So 4% federal income tax, 0% capital gains, and 0% dividends. Yeah, I mean, it's a huge game changer. It's not for everybody. You have to uplift your life and move to a beautiful tropical island where it's gorgeous all the time. We have summer all year long. The food's fantastic. The beaches are pristine. It doesn't suck. And it's really, really cool. And it's it seems to be a bit of a secret. Puerto Rico is not great at marketing this program, and maybe they don't intentionally market it widespread,
Mhm.
but it's really cool. And there's a lot going on in Puerto Rico. A lot of people think that, oh, we don't have power and since Hurricane
Mhm.
Maria and this and that, but there's a lot going on here. There's a lot of businesses being done. I think it's a very exciting time for Puerto Rico. The last 2 decades, was a decline for Puerto Rico, and now we're coming out of that, and some really great stuff is happening here, all kinds of stuff. And we could talk about that too.
Well, being an expat that's been in Dubai before, this
Yep.
is, as we were talking about earlier, this is way more comforting because I'm not going to a foreign country. I'm not getting a foreign visa. I don't have to deal in separate currency. And so I'm this much closer to home. For me, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, you don't have to leave the US, and there's more to that too. Like, you can set up a tax-free company in Dubai, but like I said earlier,
Mhm.
the US is one of the only places that taxes on worldwide income. So even if
Right.
you're over there, you can escape corporate taxes, but you still have to pay on your income. So I used to tell everyone that US was the only country that taxes on worldwide income, but I heard that Canada does that too. So I'm not sure.
Mm,
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I'm not sure
Mm,
that's true, but I think it is. So
okay.
yeah.
And the other thing that is so beneficial about meeting you prior to making this move is the social engagement, the community. And
Yeah.
if I
So
can talk about anything regarding community, one of the things that made Dubai so wonderful was, yes, of course, what you're, where you are, but it was the people. And
yeah.
most of us were expats that had moved there, and we always had something going on. And you all always have something going on. And it's very exciting. The cruise and
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
monthly things that you do.
Yeah, so let's speak to that. So yes, I Dubai is so great. I mean, so many people in Dubai are expats, and there's always something to do in Dubai. It's such an incredible place. And so I'll kind of share this with you. So the reason why Puerto Rico offers tax incentives is to attract money and brain trust to the island to affect change. And some people come here and they just do their thing and save their taxes, but others come here and do things and make an impact. And so when I moved here 6 years ago, I started, I love community. I love hanging out with
Mhm.
people. It's my favorite thing. And so I started a little group to bring people together. The idea was to bring transplants like us together with locals here on the island for food, conversation, and from there, and networking kind of from there, anything's possible, right? And so fast forward, 6 years later, we have over 2,000 people in the San Juan Social Club. And so I do events once a month, curated events across the island. They're free. I do them as a public service, like I said, to bring everyone together. And from that, remarkable things have happened. So it's really great. We also have a philanthropic slant. So over the last 12 months, we bought 3,000 toys for all the kids of the Boys and Girls Club that may be here. So they all got Christmas because of the club. And then we helped the Menti raise 180,000 in a day last year. We're getting ready to do that annual event again in just a few days, actually. And then I'll talk about the cruise in a minute, but all the ticket sale profits, we gave all that to social impact projects here on the
Fantastic.
island too. So yeah, it's super cool.
I,
So
I found out about the cruise when you all were on the cruise.
okay,
I
from
was in St. Lucia.
uh-huh.
And a friend of ours had a boat and he was picking up cruise ship passengers. I was on there basically trying to promote my lotion or Earth Island St. Lucia. And I met Dr. Joe. And Dr.
Mhm.
Joe is the one that
Oh,
said
so Joe was on the
4%. Yes.
uh-huh.
So he's the
Got
one. And I kid you not, maybe 3 weeks after I met them, I booked.
So basically, so we went to St. Lucia, right?
Right.
God, and you met Joe there. Oh, that's
And we
so
picked you all up. As you
yeah.
were coming off the cruise ship, you selected this particular captain as a
Wow.
charter. And I know
Wow.
not everybody goes on the same one, but there were
Right.
about a handful of you all that
Wow.
came out of Puerto Rico, told me what they were doing, told me why he moved
So
there and that he was a
cool.
physician. And at that
Wow.
point in time, I was moving my mom because my mom was with me. And things
Uh-huh.
have changed, but I was concerned about bringing an elderly person, and he was explaining it would be fine, get an air ambulance policy if something happens, send her
Yeah.
back to Miami. And so that's how I found out about the social club.
That is so cool. So let me tell you all, because we keep talking about a cruise, but you don't know
Mhm.
what we're talking about. So I do these events, for free once a month to bring everyone together. Last year, I announced that we were going to do our first San Juan Social Club cruise.
Mhm.
And so we had our first cruise, which is, I guess, how we all connected, right? We had our first cruise earlier this year. We had 238 cruisers, mostly fun, but we also had incredible speakers and amazing networking. Our cruisers did over 100 million in deals between each other, which was huge. And now we have over 400 people booked for next year's San Juan Social Club cruise. And I'm so excited about it. And it was so funny because that cruise, I had the idea. Well, so just to give you some background, I've been speaking for the last decade on another group cruise called the Marketers Cruise, which is all the top marketers from all over the world. And there were really three things that came from that annual gig, if you will. One, I made tens of millions of dollars from those connections.
Mhm.
Two, I made joint venture deals with all these people from all over the globe, and that's how I became a global brand in my space.
Mhm.
And three, all those people became our very best friends. And
Mhm.
the question is why? Well, if you and I like, talk on a Zoom call, we become friends. If we have dinner together, we become closer. But if we take a week off every year and we like have adventures together, we're going to go deep, we're going to become best friends, we're going to figure out ways to make more money together and have fun too. And so I wanted to create that, and I really wanted to create it for Puerto Rico. I came up with the idea 2 days after we moved here, but that was just after Hurricane Maria. The island
Mhm.
was rebuilding. Nobody was here. It would have been a terrible time to do something like that. So years go by, and finally last year I was like, I want to do this, and we started, putting it together, trying to make it happen. There were a lot of hurdles, and then finally it was time to pull the trigger. And my booker was like, okay, so are we ready to roll? I go, I don't know. I said, I need to think about it. I need to take the weekend and think about it because it was such a big endeavor and it was so public. I was like, if I fall on my ass and this thing doesn't happen, because 9 out of 10 group cruises never happen, it's going to be very public, it's going to be embarrassing. So
Thank
finally,
you
I
for
thought,
taking the risk. Thank you for
yeah,
putting
well,
this
I appreciate
together.
that. I appreciate that. Yeah, it was a buddy of mine that finally convinced me to do it. But, he said, anytime you have a chance to build community, you have to do it because we live in that age today, right? It's all about community. And so I did it, and people started booking, which was great. The numbers went up. And then I just spent months and months and months worrying about it because I had this idea in my head of what I wanted it to be. Like I had this vision. I knew what it should be. Everybody else had no clue. And then it turned out to be even better than I'd hoped. So I was just over the moon, and I'm so excited that we have it now, and it's really cool, really
Just having
cool.
this community is really what prompted a single woman to be willing to move to another island because I'm not going alone. I'm not going
Exactly,
where I have to
exactly.
meet people. I'm already connected. I mean, there's at least five people that I definitely can say already through our WhatsApp chat that they are my friends.
Yeah, 100%. And that's, I mean, if you come to the island,
Comfort.
yeah, if you come to the island and you just tap into the San Juan Social Club, and hey, we're not the only group too. There's all kinds of cool groups,
Mhm.
here on the island doing all kinds of great
Well,
things.
I'm
So
joining Rotary for sure.
yeah, Rotary's great. The San Juan Rotary, you know what's funny? There's like, I don't know how many, but I want to say somewhere between 20 and 40 Rotary groups in Puerto Rico.
You're kidding.
No, in Puerto Rico, I mean, it's 3 million, less than 3 million people. We're like the size of Vegas, it's crazy, but there's a ton of Rotaries. Now, the San Juan Rotary Club is the only English speaking club though. So
Oh,
that's the
they
one
have
to be.
Spanish speaking ones. That's fantastic.
Oh yeah, they're all Spanish speaking except for San Juan. Yeah.
I've
So,
been
yeah.
brushing up on mine. I took 5 years in college, but
Oh,
if
that's
you
great.
don't use it, you
It's
lose
true.
it.
You lose it.
So
Yeah,
I think
but
I'll pick it right back up.
I'm sure you will. But also, just so you all know, we're the US. So I mean,
Right.
everybody's English. Not everybody, but we're like you'd be hard pressed to speak Spanish if you don't want to. So.
That's very encouraging to hear because I think that's a misconception that I've read
Yeah.
on some of the Facebook pages that if you don't speak Spanish, and I thought, I don't know,
Yeah, if you're in the metro areas, almost everyone speaks English.
do you know what percentage expats to locals?
I don't, but I can tell you this, as far as the Act 60 community, the people who have come here for the tax incentives, there's less than 10,000 of us. So maybe like
That's
seven,
all.
six, five. Well, I think they've probably done about, I think 8 or 9,000 of the Act 60s or 2022s and 60s. But some have come and gone. And so I think there's probably maybe 5, 6, 7,000 of us here on the island right now. Yes, it's minuscule. It's super, super tiny.
Well, and as I was telling you too, I've done some swing trading and day trading over the years, and there's people that I watch and learn from. And guess where they're broadcasting from?
Yeah, like Harry Dent,
Puerto
absolutely.
Rico, Harry Dent. I can't wait to meet him. I mean, I've watched him for years, and there he is in Puerto Rico. And then I'll watch another one. They're Puerto Rico. And I'm going,
Yeah,
what is
they're not just
the common
Puerto
denominator
Rico.
here?
They're not just Puerto Rico, they're neighbors. Harry's a neighbor of mine. Yeah.
Can't wait to meet him. And he
A
spoke
lot
at
of
the last cruise, you said.
he spoke on the last cruise. Yeah, there's probably a lot of other like thought leaders that you might be into that are here. John Lee Dumas is a neighbor. Shandy Sumter is a neighbor.
Well, and the twins that are on CNBC, their names,
Uh,
they were on the
uh,
cruise.
which ones?
The one that he's got the little goatee. They look
Oh,
totally,
yes, of course.
the name escapes me.
John Najarian, yeah. So
Yes.
Najarian, he's here. Yeah, he's a neighbor. We go hiking on a pretty regular
What a
basis.
network.
Brendan Richard used to be here. He's not here anymore. But yeah, there's a bunch of us. Tika Tawari's here. Yeah,
And I'll
all
be in
kinds.
your neighborhood.
Yeah, exactly. You'll be in the hood.
Very
Absolutely.
excited.
Totally.
Palermo.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Cool. Yeah. So it's really great. Highly recommend it. And also, by the way, too, if you want to join us on the next San Juan Social Club cruise, we'll put a link.
We will.
Below. You want to make sure when you book to select Ashley in the drop down when you do book, and you'll end up in the same area, which is really cool. And by the way, you don't have to live in Puerto Rico to come on the cruise with us. So the cruise is really for people that live in Puerto Rico and people that are interested in Puerto Rico that want to network, make friends, and learn about all Puerto Rico's amazing opportunities and things that it has to
Yeah, my
offer.
roommate doesn't live, the girl that's going with me in my cabin, she doesn't live in Puerto Rico. She's from the States. She's not
Yeah,
moving to Puerto Rico, but she's just coming with me just for the experience. And who knows,
exactly.
they may.
Exactly. Well, that's kind of what turned out to be our secret sauce. So what happened was we ended up with 75% people from Puerto Rico, and the other 25% are all the movers and shakers that I've met from speaking in 51 different countries over the last decade. And so what happened was when we brought them together, all the people from all over the globe got excited about what everyone was doing in Puerto Rico, and all the people from
Mhm.
Puerto Rico got excited about what everyone was doing from all over the globe. And it really created some magic. It was really, really awesome.
Amazing how that happens.
Yeah, super cool.
Good
Super cool.
energies come together and it just breeds all kinds of beautiful things and opportunities. And the
Exactly.
philanthropic piece as well, that we're giving
Yeah,
back to the island, which is
sure.
so important to do.
Totally. 100%. Yep,
I mean, that was
exactly.
something that I definitely noticed there wasn't a lot going on in Dubai. There wasn't a lot of giving back. People just sort of lived there and did their thing, and that's great. But we are Americans that are moving there among fellow Americans. And to be
Yeah.
able to do something and have the proceeds of this go to, a good thing that's going on to help the communities in Puerto Rico, to help the locals in Puerto Rico. I mean, that's fantastic as well.
Yeah, totally. I mean, my feeling is like, I'm a guest here, if you will.
Of course we are.
I didn't come from Puerto Rico, right? And I just want to leave the place a little better than when I got here. So
That's right. It's a good way
yeah.
of living life. So
Yeah.
you went there 6 years ago. You arrived, it sounds like not long after the hurricane.
Yeah, so I wanted to move to Puerto Rico the week of Maria, and I called my real estate agent. I said, "Can I move? Can I come?" And he said, "No." He said, "We have a little storm coming our way." He said, "If it passes, you can come out here next week." And another hurricane had just passed Puerto Rico and went out to the BVI's. But obviously the hurricane hit, so I would call him every month. And I say, "Can I come?" He'd say, "No." "Can I come?" No, can I come?" At month three, he said, "We have power. You can come." I said, "Okay." So we came to Puerto Rico 3.5 months after Maria. And boy, it was still kind of a mess. Like there were no stoplights. Walmart was in a tent. It was a lot of rebuilding and things were rough. My girlfriend thought I was crazy. But since then it's just been better, getting better and better. So yeah, it's been pretty
Well, it's
awesome.
beautiful. And then, the comedian that came on that he was calling it garbage. I knew that no one got offended there because you simply look around the island and it's the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. And you knew it
Well,
was a joke.
well, I think everyone got offended here. But
Oh, they did.
well, I think they just got offended, period. It's just it made no sense. Like I don't even know what the humor is about. Like
There
why
wasn't
is
any. It was
yeah, it was so weird.
distasteful.
It was just a really
It
dumb
was
joke.
almost like a setup to make, all of this different type of stuff happen. But
Um,
there were some people that I talked to on WhatsApp that, they were like, yeah, we didn't really find it offensive. But Why in the world would you hire someone that roasts as a profession
It
to
roasts
be at a
everybody.
campaign?
I know, I know.
Did
Yeah.
you see what he did at Tom
Yeah.
Brady's roast?
I didn't. I didn't.
Ooh, it's not pretty.
Really?
Well, but
Really?
they hired him to zing them.
Wow.
So he's a zinger. That's what this guy does for a living, is he goes around just zinging people. And I don't know who hired him, but I don't think that that was really the smartest thing to have
Yeah.
at a campaign event. But whatever. I mean,
Yeah. I think they blew that for sure. Yeah.
yeah. So we've got this social network. We have in taxes, it used to be Act 222, and now it's called Act 60. And
It
they're
used to be Act 20 and 22, and then they put that under the 60 umbrella now. Oh yeah. So let me kind
you
of
were going to talk
share
about incentives.
the incentives. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So your cap gains, your dividends, your 4% federal income tax on export, those are just some of the tax incentives here in Puerto Rico. But there's around 20 different acts, and they're all equally interesting and amazing. So I'll give you some. So for example, Puerto Rico is trying to be more, eco-friendly, if you will. And so if you have a plug on your car, so if you import your car
Mhm.
from somewhere else, you'll pay a 30% import tax. If your car has a plug, it's zero. So you can bring it over here to 0% tax. So like I did that. I had a plug-in hybrid, but it had a plug. It only got 19 miles on electric, but because it had a plug, I was able to import that for free. That was cool. Um,
Very. So the
yeah, very
Tesla you can import for free?
correct. Yep,
That's
exactly.
unheard of. Do you know what it
Yeah.
costs to import stuff in St. Lucia?
Yeah, I know. Oh yeah, super
The
expensive.
VAT, the duty, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about 15 to 20%. When I took my products out of the US into St. Lucia, if you travel to foreign countries, they usually have something called VAT and duty, which VAT is a value added tax. And then there's duty on top of it. We're not really dealing with that with Puerto Rico because there again, it's America. It's not a state, but it's a territory, but it's still an island. So it's an opportunity for the government to get income should you bring items in. So if you bring in something with a plug, car wise, then they waive that. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and your VAT, I mean, your import tax will be on top of any VAT that existed. We don't
Right.
have that, but it's yeah, so it'd be pretty huge. We have a hospitality credit that if you, let's say you buy a building. Let's
Mhm.
say I'll just use round numbers. Let's say you pay 1 million for that building, and let's say you spend 1 million in rehab, and it has over 7 bathrooms and bedrooms. In other words, it's you're going to turn it into an Airbnb or a hotel or something like that. We have a 40% tax credit, so you would
Nice.
get back 800,000 in tax credits. Now, if you live here, you're not really paying a lot of tax, so you don't need that tax credit, but you can sell the tax credit. There's a market for it. And so you could sell it for maybe 85 cents on the dollar. So basically you spend 2 million, you give back 700K. I mean, it's huge. We have a new incentive that just was launched. I think it's called Act 185, I think.
Okay.
And and what it allows you to do is if for properties that are in certain geographic areas that they want to revitalize,
Hmm.
you can just buy something and get that same deal. So for example, you could buy a place for let's say $60,000 and maybe put in 40 and just use round numbers, and then
Hmm.
you get back 40. So, I mean, can you imagine? It's crazy, absolutely crazy. So areas are really going to start to come up now because of that. Like places are going to really start to get revitalized, which is really, really great. We have R&D credits here. I believe the R&D credit is 50% back. I believe it's 50%. It's either 40 or 50%.
So is that
Um,
why the big pharma is starting to put their little foot down there?
Well, no, big pharma used to be here, and now a lot of big pharma's left.
What happened
In
there?
so decades ago, we had something called 931, which is kind of the predecessor to Act 60.
Okay.
And 931 then later became Section 936. And Section 936, and I'll paraphrase as best I can. If you come here, you set up a manufacturing business,
Hmm.
and you domicile your money here in Puerto Rico banks for a decade, then you can enjoy zero tax status on that. So when that happened, all the drug companies started coming in,
Mhm.
and we were manufacturing some of the leading drugs
Mhm.
globally. And then over time, 936 was phased out, which is really unfortunate, and 140,000 jobs were lost on the island. And that began Puerto Rico's 20-year tailspin. Between Puerto Rico's bankruptcy, Hurricane Maria, GFC, list just goes on and on. Puerto Rico really went into a tailspin, 20-year tailspin, and now we're coming back out of it.
But
So,
if they lost 140,000 jobs, then why didn't the legislature do anything about revitalizing that? Why did they decide to do away with it?
well, there was really a confluence of a lot of things that
Okay.
happened kind of simultaneously. So, first of all, if you're talking about our legislature, we really don't have control over that, right? It's U.S. legislature, right? And at the time, they were enacting NAFTA, and so they were going to start sending jobs over to Mexico, and
Hmm.
the U.S., they wanted to capture that money that they were losing, and so their idea was that they would close up 936 and that they would recapture some of that money. But the
No,
people here that knew said, no, that's not going to happen. They're going to
no,
go
of
to the Dominican Republic, right? They're going to go somewhere else. And that's what happened. They went to the
course.
Dominican Republic and what have you. So yeah, so that was a tough lesson to learn for Puerto Rico. It was a very, very hard lesson
So
for
that
them.
was not
So
necessarily made at a local level. That was made in DC.
correct. Yeah, but our local politicians at the time did not stop it from happening.
Okay.
So it's pretty interesting. So Puerto Rico has always used tax incentives to attract people. This goes back to Spain's rule over Puerto Rico. But in the modern age, these tax incentives started in the 40s with Operation Bootstrap. So what happened was when Operation Bootstrap started, and Ted Moscoso was kind of the person that pioneered that. Countries came over here to study what was going on in Puerto Rico. It was huge, and Puerto Rico was just booming. So Puerto Rico, I'd say up until maybe the 80s or 90s, was literally the crown jewel of Latin America. I mean, it was booming. And just to put that in perspective, Puerto Rico had the highest home ownership rate of anywhere in the world, not the nation, but the world. I want to say it was like 65% or something. So countries came here to study what Puerto Rico was doing. Singapore
Mhm.
came here, Ireland came here,
Mhm.
and then they went home and built Singapore and they in Ireland. I mean,
Wow.
crazy,
From their best
incredible.
practices.
Well, yeah, and so why didn't we end up like that? Well, honestly, our Achilles heel has been our government, and just bad
Imagine
decisions.
that.
Yeah. So we just had an election, just like the states just had an election. So we we vote in the primaries here, but we're not able to vote in the general.
Right. I knew
Uh,
that.
yeah, and but we had our vote here, and so we now have Jennifer Gonzalez will be our future governor, and I'm really excited about our future resident commissioner, which is our guy in Washington, which is Pablo Jose. So I think we really have some good people, and I think that'll help over time here in Puerto Rico. But there's a lot of great, look, all countries and states and municipalities have their problems,
Of
and we
course.
certainly have plenty of those. But there's a lot of great things going on in Puerto Rico
Now you
as well.
mentioned we've got just a few minutes, but you mentioned an R&D credit. So even though they're not really doing the manufacturing there, it sounds like there's still a little bit of a piece of that there.
Well, there's R&D. And by the way, we still have manufacturing here, but our incentives for manufacturing are not what they used to be. Yeah. And so,
And
a
and you
lot of
said everyone
manufacturing.
owned a home. Now my understanding and the reason that a lot of these areas need to be rehabilitated is because these homes have been passed on to generations and they're having a hard time getting the property back out. I mean, I've heard different stories
No,
about
no.
that
So
true.
we just have, I mean, we have, a lot of burned out buildings and areas that need to be revitalized that have suffered over the last couple of decades.
Okay.
What you're hearing about the title issue Yeah, sometimes, or quite often, properties get passed down from generationally.
Hmm.
And but quite often the titles are not are not recorded. So that happens a lot, unfortunately.
So then do
And
the families lose their home?
no, they don't lose their home, but it's a challenge when it comes to financing. It was a challenge after Hurricane Maria. People wanted to get FEMA money, and if you couldn't prove, title, then it was pretty tough. It was
Oh, how did
pretty
that happen?
good. Well, somebody explained it to me once, and I could have this totally wrong, but I think it dates back to the Spanish, in their recording of deeds. But I really don't know. It's been a while since I kind of heard the background
So
on
are
that.
you worried about in regarding the title situation? Are you ever worried about buying anything there?
No, because you'll do a title search just like you would anywhere else.
So there was basically just a gap in the existence of the island that they didn't really do the abstracting and the titling type of deal.
Well, no, they did. It's just some people just didn't record their titles as they passed their
Huh.
generationally. Yeah, it
So
happens.
it boiled down to estate planning almost.
Yeah, I guess so.
Because in Oklahoma, if I pass away and don't have children, the state is entitled to half of my estate.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
I mean,
ludicrous.
I think that's in most places. Yeah, I mean, that's why you definitely have to plan estate wise. Now, I'll tell you what's interesting. So, I bought properties, and you run your title search, and it's all good. I have friends that have bought properties that did not have clear titles, so you can
How'd that
still you can
happen?
buy. They did it intentionally. They knew it and they bought it, so
Why would they do that?
they got a good deal.
But no, but knowing that you've got not a clear title, that's going to be tough to do anything with that asset.
Yeah, but I mean, you could own it and rent it out. You know.
Whatever
Yeah.
works.
Yeah.
Whatever works.
Yeah.
Whatever works. That's
Yeah.
very interesting.
But
Well,
if you want clear titles on your properties here, you have no problem with that.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I can't wait.
Yeah.
And I know it's just a matter of days now before
Cool.
my life starts. And I have a community once I get there. And that's unheard of when you move anywhere,
Yeah.
let alone another island.
Yeah.
And, as I told you, I did some very successful day trading one year and got hit with 35%,
Yeah.
and said, I'm not doing that again. And so I've been kind of as an energy searching for a different option. And living in Dubai 2 years, I had a taste of what it's like to live on the ocean, to have great weather all year round. And
Yeah.
I came home to help my family, and I'm ready to get back to beach life. And this is just a perfect opportunity. And thank you for all that you've done, all your hard work that
My
you've done with
pleasure.
San Juan, so I always want to say San Juan, Puerto Rico Social Club, but it's just San
So,
Juan Social Club.
yeah.
And thank you for sharing all the events on WhatsApp and everything. And
Sure.
I'm ecstatic about getting there and can't wait. And thank you so much for being a guest on Plant the Love.
Yeah, absolutely. It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And what we will do is put in the comment section and or on the screen, I'll have my producer put information about the cruise. So if all of you are out there and you're interested in learning more about moving to Puerto Rico, the tax incentives, the different programs, and to come into a loving family right there, they're already there. And you'd
Absolutely.
like to join us on the cruise is March, is it 13th we leave?
March 15th through the 22nd.
So you kind of want to get there maybe the 13th, and then we leave on the 15th, and it's 7 days and we go
Yep,
all over the Caribbean.
that's right.
It's going to be a blast. And I
It's
cannot
good
wait to
stuff.
see the speaker lineup and what I learn and who I meet. And just you've done a great thing. And I really appreciate
Appreciate
all
it.
your hard work in putting this into this. And
Thank
thanks for
you.
your time on coming on the show.
Absolutely. My
And
pleasure.
everybody out there, regardless of where the direction went on our election this week, please continue to plant the love. There are people that are joyous, but remember, there's a lot hurting too. And let's show empathy and compassion to all Americans, regardless of the way that they voted, because the bottom line in anything is the greatest is love. And so we hope that everybody continues to plant the love and show compassion and empathy toward one another as we move into this next chapter.
Fantastic. All
Have a
right.
great day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Thanks,
Thank you
everyone.
so much for being here. Have a great day. Plant the love, everybody.